Welcome to another episode of the Lords of Consciousness videocast. My name is Clint Culberson, and I am your host today. And today I'm joined by a good friend who I met last year at the Unify Fest in New Mexico. In fact, we had a little introductory interview that we put out, and I'll post the link to that below. But it's Jesse-Boudreau from Zia Energetics out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, or the Santa Fe area, New Mexico. Jesse, welcome, brother.
Blessings, Clint. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for having me on your show. Appreciate having an opportunity to talk with you.
Well, you're one of the most how do I say it? Deep individuals I've ever met. You know, you have such a breadth of knowledge of many different topics, and you have such a reverence. I mean, reverence is the perfect word. A reverence for the natural world in which we are a part of, not separate from. And you're someone who's always, showing that in everything you do. In fact, you have an event coming up. It's going to be the Zia Energetics permaculture-certification course, and and you're going to be led by you. And you've been in the game for almost 20 years in the permaculture world. I think were you first certified 20 years ago? Is that right?
I was certified about 12 years ago, but I have been involved in this work for about that long, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a huge deal. So your permaculture certification course is coming up this May 22nd through June 2nd. And this is like a 2-week immersive course where people are going to be able to learn from not only you, but amazing other permaculturists like Katrina Blair, who was also at Unify Fest and who's an amazing human being. And I mean, I can't even believe how much knowledge that woman has. Joe Glansberg, who is one of your mentors, who showed you the ropes, and Tyler Gemmert. So tell us what is going down over these 2 weeks and what someone can gain by showing up to this and being a part of this, because this is a commitment, but it's something that's going to change your life if you choose to be involved in it.
Well, blessings, Clint. I'm grateful to be able to share this event and the contents of my heart and my work over the last 20 years. And we're hoping to offer, somewhat of a different permaculture certification course. There are many certification courses, and, in order to become like a real permaculture certified designer, you have to go through multiple courses and, show your commitment over a number of years. What I'm seeking to impart more in this course is more hands-on, connective permaculture practice, and sort of framework that I'm working with based around concepts in alchemy of the 4 elements of earth, wind, fire, and water. How you need all those in your garden and you need all those in your body, etc. And a concept which my mentor Joel has developed called pattern mind, which is recognizing the patterns in nature, like the fractal dendritic branching of trees, or the neural connections of your brain, or the spiral Fibonacci sequence in a nautilus shell or pine cone, and that these are signatures that can inform us. And learning to use these lenses and ground into sort of a pragmatic, practical, get your hands in the dirt, learn to forage and make medicine, learn to cultivate mushrooms, learn about desert permaculture, rainwater harvesting, food forests, annual gardening, a little bit of animal husbandry, diet, all manner of stuff. So just want to take all my years of practice and share it with people at this time. I think it's really valuable time to share these skill sets, and that they're basically the commons of humanity. I would gladly offer a lot of it, and I do on my Facebook page and through my YouTube page, as much instruction as possible, because I really feel that at this time it's vital that we engage ourselves with nature and ingrain into her ways and let her be our guide through the plants and through you know, the signatures that she offers. So that's sort of the gist of what we're going to be doing. We're going to have Katrina Blair come. She's an amazing, insightful, cheerful, beautiful lady who brings a lot of knowledge and wisdom and years of practice with wild plants and foraging. And so we're going to, every day, we're going to forage our lunch and harvest our lunch. Every day we're going to do some sort of planting or medicine making, or, you know, go to the woods. So the whole thought is just to spend as much time in nature and be informed by the fractal universe that's around us, that is trying to inform us with the information of the birds' words, you know, and, you know, the sound of the river, and, you know, the shape of the flower, and all of those things that used to be ingrained in our being from practice, continual practice with this in the natural environment. So that ingrained sort of permaculture, and not such a theoretical, kind of goes along with a teaching or a thought that I've been running with from Drunville and Melchizedek, of how we've moved, you know, our consciousness more into our mind, you know, which is a place of duality, of should I, shouldn't I, reason versus intuition, et cetera, et cetera. And we need to move more into the heart, which is a realm of knowing, that it's actually a sensory perceptual organ that we can interact with the environment and get information, you know, exchange information with, you know, the plants and animals, and get instruction thereby. So that's the thought anyway. And
that's incredible. Just to be able to hang out with you guys for 2 weeks. I mean, if you want to hang out with the greatest nature freaks of all time, this is it right here. I mean, these guys will anything you want to know about any leaf that's on the ground, you are in the right company. So this is an opportunity to literally transform your knowledge base. Whatever you think you know now, you hang out with these guys for 2 weeks, you're going to come out of it knowing and understanding a lot more. And Jesse, speak to the idea that permaculture is more than just a knowledge base. It's really a lifestyle.
Yeah, that's really what we're seeking to convey through this course, because, you know, in the framework of our modern oil culture, permaculture has rooted in various ways for people to be able to make a living and stuff. They're all very valid ways in which to do permaculture of the heart through play, and ways in which, you know, you can just focus on, like, you know, aquaponics, or, you know, aquaculture, you know, just various fields that you can go down, you know. But really, if you think about the way, a naturalistic way in which to live, that it doesn't have all this embedded energy of our oil economy and the convenience that comes through it, you know, where you have to ingrain into a landscape with what you have available to you, you know, and where you have to be resourceful and, you know, be considering of, you know, in a more thorough way, how you're going to use your resources. And in permaculture, we talk about stacking functions. How are you going to get the most benefit for all with that, you know, the most bang for your buck, so to speak, with everything you do, so that you can be minimalistic and be a little more lazy and have a little more time for your heart space and your family. And so we're not running amok all the time. I know a lot of us feel, you know, the pains of modern living, of just the constant push, you know, and it's unnatural to our lifestyle and the circadian rhythms of our body. It should be sort of like an in-breath and an out-breath of activity, where you're able to, you know, rest and enjoy and relax and take a moment to give thanks, you know, for your place in the world. And your relationship to food is a huge thing. I feel that where this one gardener talks about, when your relationship to food breaks down, all your other relationships break down, because you no longer have, you know, the framework or the perspective of the appreciation, you know, for the most basic and fundamental of your needs. So I kind of ascribe to that thought and feel it's really important at this time to regain our relationships with the earth, and to really regain our relationships with each other, so we can steer our economies and steer our ourselves forward in a less, dominating way than the current paradigm.
Yeah, would you say that permaculture is more of a passive approach to living, or more of a I don't know how you'd say it, more of like a receiving, or more of a melding within the natural ways, as opposed to trying to dictate the natural ways ourselves, if that makes sense?
That's a very, very interesting and pertinent question, I think, because there's this ancient concept that I really resonate with from the Taoists called Wu Wei, of non-doing, and that oftentimes human beings go on about trying to fix things, and in many cases they end up making things worse. If we can sit back and reflect and consider and observe, then we might have a better idea of what to do. So that definitely plays into the mentality, though it doesn't mean you go without doing. You definitely got to use your back and use your shovel and
Right.
all of that. It's but there's a certain fluidity to it, a certain that's in the way of nature. That I believe this lifestyle of connecting in, has a multiplicity of benefits. On this idea of the earth, wind, fire, and water. We are beings of earth, wind, fire, and water. And so we need to get good sunlight, like I'm getting now, to create vitamin D and process that. And you need the full spectrum light to process the stress chemicals in your eye. Your eyes have rods and cones that receive and process that, so you need fire, you need good, clean water. That's what Flint and that's what, Dakota Access and everything is about. We got to keep our water clean, and we got to love our water and have good, clean water for all of us, and then you need good, clean food, good earth, and you need good air, you need oxygenation. And so through a lifestyle of working in the elements where you're getting the sun, you're exercising, so you're oxygenating, you're growing food, so you're getting that good, clean earth. And if you're doing things right in permaculture, we can actually purify water. We can bioremediate a lot of toxins. We have all the technologies and solutions. There's a saying in permaculture that the problem is the solution. So at this time where we have so many problems, we should also know that there are an equal amount of solutions out there. And I believe permaculture has just a ton of solutions there with respect to all of it. The health aspect, the health of the planet. A lot of people don't make that connection, that there's cancer in the world because of the way we treat the planet and because of the toxicity in the environment. Mm-hmm. And this over toxicity in people leads to this state called cancer. And it's sort of a mentality that it's like resonant too. Like if you think about cancer in the body, is cells not recognizing each other as part of the same body and fighting each other. Mm. And that's essentially what we have going on in the world. And I think it stems from this relationship with our food and with our earth mother, and bringing in more of that yin aspect of allowing, of observation, of nurturing, what the Taoists call life cultivation. Ism, is it where I hate to put an ism on the end of stuff,
right?
But sort of ingraining into ourselves a more peaceful way in which we're nurturing our brothers and sisters. We're nurturing our, our families and our land and ourselves, so that all is well. And there's abundance of another kind. There's a lot of people in the, conscious community talking about, the benefits and necessity of abundance, which I wholly subscribe to. But there's a difference between sort of the opiate facade of oil abundance and true natural abundance. So that's what I'm seeking, and that's what my heart is yearning for and working towards. And that's what I want to collaborate on and share. Most of these gatherings, I just end up being a facilitator. Everybody's bringing their information, knowledge, and wisdom, and starting to bring more of a sense of that, into our growing understanding. I worked for a general for a while, and the greatest thing I gleaned from him was the all of us together are smarter than any one of us could ever be, you know. So
Well
that
said.
spirit of collaboration and community with permaculture combined, I think we can, surmount all of the day's challenges.
What is your vision for what the future can hold for communities? Like give me your vision of I suppose a utopian society. What would that even look like? And is it folly to be have those utopian ideas? I mean, so many people might say that that's unrealistic, but why not have that as a dream in your mind and be taking steps moving towards that, even if it looks different in the end, but it's still like, what does it look like in your mind, Jesse?
I believe we're creators of our reality and we're the sowers of the seeds, and there's a lot of metaphors in gardening where you see the translation over into our economics and elsewhere. you know there is greater efficiency if we greened up our urban environments, if we put bees and living rooftops on roofs, and we did rainwater harvesting and made food forests, parks and parking lots throughout our forests, with energy collection available there, almost like a cell where there's waste management through bioremediation. There's this abundance of fruit and nutrition and stuff that's available to the populace. If we could envision doing things in that way and having all those pluses, that's just in the urban setting, then those things can all go to our mutual benefit, and that is economically sensible, it's environmentally sensible, and we can live in people in this world often tend to kind of sequester off into eco communities or into their own homesteads. Like I've actually done that here, to a large degree. We're sharing information and teaching and outreaching all the time, but I'm in the deserts of northern New Mexico. I'm pretty far out there. So, I'm pretty well in solitude, and we have to realize it's a coming together, and a collaboration. But if we just have the collective will, we can easily transform all of our, social, environmental, and economic ills, I believe, with these design methods, just being aware of the flows through your environment of the sun, and the water and energy, and just being able to direct it, almost like jujitsu into the most positive outcome, so that we can, kick back a little bit and, just enjoy our lives in a beautiful place and realize we're in a clean, healthy place and that people are provided for and people care about each other. And, it's sowing those seeds and planting those dreams and nurturing them that is going to make them happen. Idealism, I'm a realist. I'm very pragmatic, in my approach, but really, you have to dream. It's got to be there. It's half of who we are. The Toltecs talk about that, aspect of, our dream body. We have our sun body, which is during the day, our activity and our everything. And then at night, there's your dream body and your emotions and your subconscious. And you are both of these things. You're not just one of them. So moving into
Beautiful.
that mode and the cycles of nature, the way it's a sine wave, an ebb and flow of this, activity and rest and, in breath and out breath and, spring, summer and fall and winter and just cycles upon cycles.
It's funny you bring that up because me and my buddies been talking about this. What can we learn from the different seasons of the year? And we've in the modern world we've grown up in, there hasn't really been that much, wisdom that's been taught to us, at least again from the modern perspective, of what the seasons mean for us. As we come into spring and summer and fall and winter. What do they mean to you, and what is the ancient wisdom that, I'm sure there's plenty of it, but what is the ancient wisdom that we've kind of been separated from concerning that about about those
Well,
times of the year.
well, it makes me think of uh, two things. But first, most I'd say is Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, there's the doshas, and in Ayurveda, they acknowledge that there's different seasons. During the different seasons of the year, your body circadian rhythms are in different modes, and you have different needs. Um, but that also happens throughout your life, and that's often equated to in poetry and things of the past. I think people totally intuit this, and especially if you're connected with the rhythms of the seasons of spring being sort of like your youth, and summer being sort of like your midlife as you actualize yourself, and fall is as you are aging, and winter is as you die and recede,
Mm-hmm.
you know and realizing that I believe in reincarnation too, so I believe that's also just another rhythm, that
Mm-hmm.
is being expressed there. you know but be that as that may, it's definitely a rhythm in nature that we can, if you're ingrained in the environment, if you're ingrained in the seasons and you are watching the sun go down, and you're sometimes seeing the moon come up, those celestial bodies are influencing you directly. I mean, the moon affects lunar tides and women's menstrual cycles and the way fish move, and and trees and plants and everything grow with the sun and toward it. It's like we can't deny that these are forces that are acting upon us, you know, and psycho-spiritual ways too, I believe. So it's really about trying to connect the inner and the outer, um, trying to garden up your insides and garden the
Yeah.
world, because that's what we need. We need to. My wife and I talk often about, how the heart, in permaculture, they talk about different zones of use and designing according to that use. So the things closest in are the things you use most intensively, that are closest to you, that you're going to visit often. So we think of that as the heart as being, zone one. If you're not, it's, we also liken it to being on the airplane. And if the cabin depressurizes, they say you put the air on yourself before you go out trying to help other people. Because if you're not in a state of healing and wholeness or understanding of yourself, then you're not really able to be outpouring and giving to others in a truly healthful and loving and holistic way.
Mm-hmm.
So realizing that that's a large part of the work, of permaculture, is on our own selves, on the psychological, spiritual level as well. And that actually we are going to bring through in this course knowledge and information about plants and how plants can help you to, come to your benefit, to balance and to, bring up certain qualities, and to help you, kind of align more with your own self, your own intuition. That's something we teach in our foraging class. We're all like, biochemical laboratories that walk around, and when you put something in your mouth, your body knows right away. It's a highly sensitive, lab essentially, and it knows right away whether that thing is going to be good for you or not. So we want to start bringing this knowledge of trusting yourself into design, into herbalism, and then into, from there out to, how do we help each other in our communities and in the world.
Beautiful, man. I love that, and it makes me think of eating seasonally. Like eating the foods that are in season during that time of year. And you tell me, what benefits does that bring to our bodies when we're eating citrus in the right time of year, or we're eating, pitted fruits during the right time of year, rooted vegetables during this time of year? What is that bringing us?
Yeah, and that goes back to that, knowledge coming through the systems of Ayurveda that are, ancient, 5,000 years or more roots of all knowledge systems. And it just goes with the flow, goes with the sense and the season too. And spring, okay, so maybe I'll start with winter, because we just came out of winter. So winter is a time when you want those building foods, those roots, and think of like all the feasting that happens in winter on the turkey dinner with the rich this and that, and ham
Mm-hmm.
at Christmas. And I'm a vegetarian and everything myself, but still it's like the oily foods, like nuts and roots and tubers, things that I've been able to store away in my root cellar. Winter squash, things like that are more sort of building and nourishing. And then you get into spring, and after all that feasting on heavy foods, your liver is tuckered out and you need cleansing food. So what comes up? The dandelions and the spring greens, and all these cleansing herbs for the liver. As it wears on, you get into summer, gets hot, those watermelons start growing. And on a hot day, watermelon is a cooling food. It has a cooling thermal nature and will actually cool your body off. So you eat that cool watermelon, and so it goes, from season to season. Everything that's ripe and ready in its season corresponds to your circadian rhythms and what your body needs in that season. And in a culture and a society where we can go out and get citrus in the middle of the winter, citrus is actually a cooling food. It warms you up and thereby cools you, similarly to chili. That's how people in the South stay cool, and in part is eat a bunch of chili and then you'll sweat a lot and it'll cool you off.
Interesting.
So understanding the thermal nature of foods keying into your body, and learning to experience that for the first time. Sometimes I know for me, I had to do a big raw food cleanse before I even could sense the difference between greens, and nuts, and fruit, versus before, when I would just eat what I felt like, like a breakfast burrito or, ice cream, or,
right.
Just go to what you feel like. I could then sense what actually felt good to me versus what my cravings were, so all of it dovetails together. The more you start, our family is, just somewhat, it's been a blessing. We have sort of difficult, hard times economically in the winter, being gardeners in Mexico in a economically depressed state. But we have learned through permaculture to store and gather and everything, our food. And then in the winter, we're hardly spending any money, and we can just sit here and read and, make smoothies with all the fruits that we've gathered up from, summer, and make breads and out of the wild dock, and, just play sort of. So it's really a blessing. And it helps me dial in more to the actualizing of this kind of lifestyle whenever I run up against that,
That's awesome.
And it's something that I think that it's key. It's part of my medicine in these times, because I think it's key as we're transitioning from an oil culture to actually being based in real practice, with the land.
Yeah.
So,
so
that's what I seek out to share. I don't know, to the degree I can.
I love it, man. But you can see it with your own kids, man. I got to meet your kids when we were there in New Mexico, and you can feel it from them. They're not. They have a feel to them that you don't see from so many kids who are so plugged in, And it's really neat to see children who are kind of being raised in that way, and be great to see more and more of it happening. More bringing us out, unplugging ourselves, and bringing ourselves outside of ourselves to others, and also, like you said, to be taught these cyclical cycles in terms of the planet itself, or the food that's coming from the planet, and the cyclical nature of our own bodies, and that's to be taught that at a young age. Gosh, man, that's quite a head start. I mean, I'm learning this shit, and I'm in my late 30s. So
I know,
and most of us are.
It's
nothing to feel ashamed about it. It's just the time period in which we live in. I was born in 1979, and anyone who's listening can say the date that they were born. And if you really look at the history of the world and what was going on, and the culture and this and that, I mean, dude, this world has been a quite an interesting place, and a lot of stuff has been lost through this journey and gained as well. I mean, if you ask me, this isn't all just some, we've all taken the wrong path and that's it. I mean, I think there are some things that have come out of I suppose the oil and gas culture that will benefit us in the future, but it has to be rekindled with the true foundation of what our society should be. And like you said, in the physical world, it starts with what we are putting in our body. It starts with the basic elements of survival: water, clean water, food, clean food, and start from there. And then if we have spaceships that fly to Alpha Centaurium, awesome. That's great, man. I mean, that's spectacular. I'm down for that. I know you are too. But without the foundation, what are we doing at that point? And you can see the state of the world in which we're living in.
Yeah, we got to be responsible enough to be caring enough of our mother to be able to be a galactic species. I think to be to have that sort of I mean, we just can't do without it. It's something that we're moving into, without just any pushes or anything. It's a natural part of an adolescent growing. They go through this period of, being very rebellious to their parents and, lashing against their mother and what have you. And then, come around college years, you start to kind of come back and Mom, you're right. Thanks a lot for sharing that wisdom with me, and, you just, at a certain point, you kind of go with the process. And it's something I think is part of our growing, and part of the medicine of the times is starting to honor old age and wisdom once again. Mm-hmm. The old people used to be our wisdom keepers. Now we trove them away, when they get too difficult to deal with, sort of a thing. And we have a culture of neoteny that values youth and staying young forever, but getting into those seasons, the seasons of life, when you get to be that old wizened guy who gets to, share his years of experience, that's a treasure, So
absolutely. I think it's I've seen in my own life the idea of having mentors in your life, and yes. Especially mentors who. Usually a mentor will probably be someone with just more experience in whatever field. That doesn't necessarily mean they're older than you, but more times than not, they're going to probably be older than you on some level. And I think that is the world is in great need of, especially I'll say the young people, to realize how important that is, and to humble yourself to be able to receive the experience and wisdom of the older generations. And it doesn't mean anyone who's older than you, make them your mentor, but you find people in your life who resonate with you, and you'll see. I mean, you'll see it in your life. You could probably look around in your life. You're really honest. There's probably a couple of these people that already exist, but one thing that's really helped me is like I've gone to my dad. My dad is a true mentor for me, and I've said, Dad, I want you to be an official mentor for me. And now we just started doing weekly calls with each other, where I said, Dad, I'm going to kind of go over some stuff with you, what I got going on, and then if you want to interject in any way, please. I'm giving you permission to kick my ass if you want. I don't even care. It's it's great actually, and it's helped me break through some blockages that I've had in my life. Because I'm trying to do it on my own. I want to keep secret my bullshit. That's the stuff that's holding me back, and to be open and honest and have your Miyagi. And be the Daniel-san, or whatever version of that in your life. I find that to be so beneficial. And there's so many wise older people out there that whose knowledge, to be honest with you, is going to waste because a lot of the younger people aren't even open to it. Or even the older people they feel like a hopelessness. Nobody cares, nobody wants it. And I say to the contrary, and I envision a world where we have our elders truly in the rightful place that they deserve. And it doesn't mean that they get to dictate your life. That's not what we're looking for either. So, older generation, get off that too.
Just their wisdom and guidance. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I really look forward to, especially in Western societies, this returning. Because it needs to. There's a huge disconnect between the
Absolutely.
generations right now, and I think that's why we see a lot of like why we're lost in many ways.
Here, here. I have many mentors in life. I've had many garden mentors, spirit mentors, and I would certainly be lost without them. There's so much to try to, especially in the day of information like this, where there's just propaganda aplenty,
Mm-hmm.
to sort it all out, in the age of electronics, where people aren't even connected to their own mind. That's partly what we're seeking to share with this course, is that for you to be able to come out here and sort of have a retreat with yourself, to connect in with yourself through
Oh yeah.
connecting to these elements, and nature, and these concepts. So really want to empower people, at this time. I think a lot of people feel really disempowered, and it's just, time for us to, actualize that knowledge and wisdom that we are the creators of this world, and now is our time. We're the ones we've been waiting for,
Mm-hmm.
and so let's do this.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
it's so funny you bring that up because that was actually one of the questions I've been having in the back of my mind. Like, okay, can't wait to talk to him about this. But you said we are the ones we are waiting for. And we live in the oil and gas system. In terms of the economic system, we're always looking for an external force to always be there, because man, we don't know how to get it ourselves, so we're dependent, very dependent. Even spiritually speaking, if you look at most of the world religions over the last couple hundred years, there's always something external to us that we're just hopeless without it, and without that, we're just it's all over. Looking for some external savior to us, and
right.
it seems like what's happening right now is that what we're finding is really truly that a savior we're looking for really is within us, and that doesn't even take away from the stories of Jesus, for example, and his
No.
significance. Or I'm not. This isn't some crack on him or anything like that, or anyone who believes in Christ as their savior on some level, but truly, if you ask me, it seems like what he was trying to say is to be like me, and
Yep.
this seems to be exactly what's going on with permaculture living, and what's going on with this return to localization and bringing communities back, is that instead of looking for something external to us, we're going to have to do it ourselves. Like, let's eliminate our dependency on a system that is obviously on a fucking one, like he's headed 100 miles an hour directly towards a cliff, and you better jump off this train and start figuring out your own way, because that train is literally it's and there's madmen at the helm of it. And if we can't see that with this political system that's going on right now, then we're crazy, because it's time to figure out that it's us. And I want you to speak to that, because I think it's really vitally important.
Here, here, and bless up, brother. That well spoken. That's exactly my feelings. You know, I believe Jesus is quoted in there. I can honestly say that I've barely gotten one read through on the Bible, but I believe he said in there that everything I can do, you can do and more. You know, um, so we must
He
not.
empowered, as
In
you
an
just said.
in an age where we're understanding the quantum power of our minds, I believe it's that gives us the responsibility, more to take, into our own hands, uh, the way things are going to go down here on this planet. We can't just sit by the sidelines and kind of be like, oh well, whatever. If you're an engaged and activated person, you feel your connection to all the life and the other people who live here. Um, you feel moved to do something. A lot of people are moved to violent, and they are so freaked out, because they are so uh, um, hooked on the oil system. They just don't see any other way for survival because that's been everything they ever lived, you know. So in a way, it is that. I mean, if you're in, you know, Chicago, or if you're in Flint, you know, there's a lot of places in the city where there you can't get real food. You can get Arby's, you can get, you know, something from the gas station or McDonald's, but you're not going to be able to, you know, get to a farmer's market or a Whole Foods or, you know, a co-op or, you know, a natural grocer. But that's where I believe we have to sort of take things more into our own hands, do a little bit of civil disobedience, you know, like people have done in LA. I think there was I believe I got my story right. The man was, I don't know if he was involved in gangs in his youth, but he grew up, got into gardening, and then just started guerrilla gardening, city medians, taking them over and planting food for people and just letting people have it, you know, and it took fire. And I really see this, there's a resurgence of this happening right now. I think there's a lot, you know, to take stock in. I see a lot of people see this as the writing on the wall. And that, you know, I mean, if you look at the past, after the last World War, the victory gardens and all that, 90% of people grew most of their food. Now it's less than 1%. So this is obviously knowledge we need to take back. One of my favorite reggae artists calls technology takeaway knowledge, because we spend so much of our time engrossed in our technology and our convenience that we forget about how to take care of plants and seeds and animals and people. You know, these are the basic, most basic skill set that we need to focus on. And anyone who knows mastery of anything requires that you master your basics first and foremost to the T, and then you progress from there, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I remember, you know, I played a lot of basketball growing up, and it's like the kid who wants to learn how to do the dribble through the legs before he even knows how to just dribble. I mean, can you run down the court at full speed and dribble without losing the ball? Oh, no, you can't. Well, then why are you trying to learn a killer crossover right now? You know, it's like, and that's basically what the world we live in so often is we're trying to figure out these, like you said, these technologies have us so confused that our foundation is missing. I mean, completely missing for most. I mean, most people truly have, most of the fruit or the vegetables they eat don't even have any idea what the plant looks like that it grows on. Have no idea. Or even that it grows on a plant. I mean, that's how crazy sometimes it gets.
Whereas in you know, times past, you know, you may have planted that fruit tree with your grandfather, taking care of it with him for 20 years, harvested fruit from it for 20 years, you know, instead of just an apple and eat half and chuck it, you know. There's so much food that's wasted every year. I think 50% of food nearly is tossed out before it even gets into shopping baskets, you know, because of paranoia about end dates, you know, because of the way we handle just the food system in general. It's all thought of as disposable, you know, and yet people are hungry, you know. So why is that? And that's what I'm saying is we can just take those matters into our own hands. We want to eat. Let's plant some seeds. Let's plant some trees, you know, then you'll have something to eat. That's going to be, you know, what that skill set is in the future. I wholeheartedly believe. I think for ecological restoration, for abundance, for any not, you know, sort of nominal sanity on this planet, we're going to have to get good with some of these basic things of just tending land, right? You know, generationally, intergenerationally, and taking care of ourselves, right? Our health and our well-being, so that we can bring our own, bring our best, and own all of that responsibility that there is to own, because it ain't easy. That's definitely the case. You know, and you got to bite off what you can chew, like the whole thing with the basketball. You know, you can't just start, you know, I'm a snowboarder and I work at the terrain park, and we see guys coming in and trying to throw big 360s before they can even hit the jump straight, you know?
Yep.
And it's, you got to honor where you are and just take it from there. Don't be hard on yourself. That doesn't help you. Just move toward, you know, just add. Don't
That's
think about the
that's great advice. In fact, speak to one of the things that I've experienced in my even within this whole world of permaculture and gardening and growing. It's like I get this frustration of, man, why wasn't I doing this like when I was 20 years ago, and then I'd be so far ahead right now, and then it almost makes you shut down because you feel frustrated because you don't know more, and you feel like less than, or I'm not even sure what that is exactly, but can you speak to that for those who are we're all students. I mean, even you, I'm sure you get around people who you just blow you away in terms of the knowledge base that they have. Speak to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things they talk about in Zen that I really like is Zen mind, beginner mind. Think of everything as a beginner with fresh eyes. Once you're an expert at something, you block out all the possibility around you, So that's the way to keep open, Just remember you're always a beginner, and it's okay to suck at stuff, That's, what we tell people in the terrain park all the time, it's like, you don't be safe and have fun, and go for it. But otherwise you're missing the point, That's the whole idea, is to go have some fun. And I believe that's what we're here for on this planet, I believe we're here to live in joy together, in beauty, naturalness. And I believe it's our birthright. And I feel that's partly where those frustrations come through. I know that's been part of the thing for me, growing up feeling like, man, I knew this. I honestly have a picture of the day that all of this struck me. I was like 3 or 4 years old, maybe younger, where I was hiking with my folks, and we came out to this beautiful, beautiful field of flowers up in the mountains. And they sat me down, and I had just woke up, and I was like, okay, I arrived. I'm in heaven. This is good. This is what it's meant to be. And I've been ever chasing that ever since, because I believe that is part of our birthright and a naturalistic way of being. And that heaven can be here on earth if we create it through our mentality, a positive mentality, and sharing of your heart. But it doesn't happen if you connect, separate off and won't share your heart, and you won't, look at that thing in need over there, but when you do, it fills you. So I think that's, the promise for us, in the future is to be, I've heard it said, through, I think it was the DMT book, that some of their experiences that came through is our future will be like that of the bees, where we go around in mutual benefit, benefiting pollinating the flowers and benefiting each other and benefiting the people with the honey and everything outpouring, of benefit. So that's my wish and my hope for us as humans, that we can care about the earth and each other, and, your relationship with your mother and the father, and your father, the earth and the sky. Those are, your first and foremost relationships, and your actual earth mother and earth father. Through your connection with them and the earth, you can have, a balance and wholeness like you've never experienced before. You can have a surety in your soul that you have done right, and that everything is right. And so that's the clarity and, vibration I seek and hope to spread,
Absolutely. And what I've come to the understanding of is when you have that relationship, you also realize how abundant this planet is, and how giving, and when you work with, when you listen to your mother and your father, and they will teach you how to multiply and replenish the earth, as the first part of the Bible says, and the modern system we live in, it truly is a mind frame of scarcity. And there's scientific studies that have been done that show what the scarcity consciousness does to people, and it puts people under significant stress. And there's certain parts, and forgive me, I don't know the science behind it. I can't recall it. I'm terrible with this, but there's parts of your brain that literally there's certain pathways that literally shut down when in mode of scarcity. And I really do believe it's one of the biggest reasons why families have broken apart, why there's so much, there's a lot of traumas that have gone on in the world. It's one of the big factors to it. And it has to be changed because it's honestly an insane system when you consider how I'm not going to say it's not difficult, but it wouldn't be that difficult to be creating humongous abundance everywhere. The idea that people starve is absolutely insane. Like you said, when you consider how much food we're actually growing, but you have restaurants that would rather throw away food than just give it away because that might ruin their economic model. We need to change it somehow. We need to do something different, and we need to do it quick.
Yeah. Imagine if the U.S. military budget was directed toward regenerating the earth and forests.
Yeah,
what that might look like, right? I believe that's what we are. I believe we're like cells in the body, here to regenerate and upkeep the general health of the planet. And that whole thing you said about stress and its effect on the body, the neurons that fire together wire together. So the more we entrain ourselves to stress and just states of despair and decline, the more we're going to experience that. And the more we entrain to positive states and states of abundance, naturalness, balance, then there's just you'd be overwhelmed with the outpouring that the Earth Mother and the Earth Father will give back to you. And I certainly have been. I can say that for sure. So, even through the economic hard times my family has been through, that's definitely been the point of strife, is when that node of consciousness comes in of like, oh no, there's not enough, even though we've always had everything we needed and more, by far and away, especially in comparison to like, third world countries. Well, when you realize that you can make your house out of, the mud around you like a swallow, and you can, use the dandelions and the elm leaves and the things that are just presenting themselves to you, the more you're filled with this feeling and understanding that you can rest on your mother, that she will provide for you, that you don't have to rest on sort of the patriarchal system of dad and money, and it's going to go like this and the plan, and to a point of insanity.
Absolutely, man. Well, and I hope anyone listening to this can feel what we're talking about, and if what we're talking about is something that really resonates with you, May 22nd, truly, this is an opportunity in New Mexico to be with Jesse, to be with his wife Hannah, who's it's basically the female version of what you're seeing right here on the screen, and even better, right? And Katrina Blair and Joe Glansberg and Tyler Gemmer. These people have been dedicating their lives to understanding this knowledge that's been lost. And I can promise you, if this is something that even you feel that little voice in your head saying, "Man, this sounds awesome," do it. It doesn't even mean you have to become start a permaculture business after. If you're looking to just change your life and the way you see things, I mean, to have this knowledge, to bring it back to where you live and to bring it back to the communities in which you live in. This is it, man. This is the juju, man. This is the real stuff that is making huge shifts in the world. And I hope that May 22nd through June 2nd, that you would consider heading up there to Mexico. This will be a life-changing experience, and I can promise you that. So, Jesse, thank you so much for coming on. I love you, man. I truly do. I think the moment we met each other, we knew there was some cool, amazing cosmic connection. I mean, hell, we were hanging out at the Mike Love concert together, and just was like, this is it, bro. I mean, two huge Mike Love fans. Of course we resonate, man. And I everything that you're up to, I'm a full supporter of. any way that we can always help you. And I know you feel the same with me, but thank you so much, man. And please check out Jesse's YouTube channel. Find him on Facebook. He does some incredible Facebook Live videos where he goes in depth, like true, like very deep in terms of the natural world around. He knows the benefits of, gosh, at least from my perspective, seemingly everything of what in the natural world. I know for you, of course, there's of course from your perspective, there's so much more to learn. From my perspective, you are an absolute expert at what you're doing and the knowledge you're sharing. So this is a real opportunity for anyone who's really searching for more of this in their life to change the foundation of their physical universe. In terms of having better water coming through your body and the bodies of your families and your animals and everything around, and the plants in your life, to eating much better diet, clean food, and being a part of the process. It's absolutely the most fun shit of all time. So get on it, people.
Yes, I'm glad you can feel me and hear it, dude. That's what I'm saying. Woo. Let's build heaven here, you know. Let's have fun.
Absolutely,
and thank you so much for that, and I love you too, brother. I totally saw our heart in each other the first day, and I'm just glad you're there doing your work, and I'm glad everyone's out there doing their work. And I know this is a large part of a lot of people's hearts, and that makes me glad, because that makes me know that it's coming. You know, that we're really gonna get real with our relationships and our loving ways as humans. You know, and that's what I want for this world, you know.
Well, we're gonna get there. We're gonna die trying. You're gonna be the guy on your shirt right there. That is a future picture of Jesse, man. He'll die doing it.
I'll garden until I'm bones. Garden the planet.
Yeah, baby. Thank you, Jesse. You send my love to your wife, and I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon. Okay.
Right on, Clint. Thank you so much, brother. Love you. Be well.
Thanks, brother.